Welcome to the ACHEMA Pulse Webcast. Great that you're joining us today. In the coming months, we will give you in this series of webcasts some insight on trends that shape and change the process industries. And we will give you a glimpse on what to expect at ACHEMA Pulse in June 2021. But before we get started with today's topic, let's have a drink of water. Water is essential to all of us, not least to the process industry, whether as a solvent, a cooling agent, a transport medium, or part of the product. Water is essentially everywhere in the process industry. With the digitalization of the industry and growing concerns about freshwater resources, industrial water management is facing new challenges and entering a new era. So, how can industrial water management help to protect resources and make the process industry more water efficient? How can it keep up with the changes the process industry is undergoing overall? Digitalisation seems to be one key. That's what I would like to discuss today with Dr. Thomas Track. He's the subject matter expert on industrial water management at ACHEMA. Thomas, great to have you here today. Welcome to the webcast.
Well, Katrin, thank you very much. Welcome as well. Thank you very much for inviting me for this ACHEMA Pulse webcast, and thank you very much for putting the issue on water efficient process industry on the agenda of today's webcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to share with you some first insights and ideas that we can see how we can make industrial water management more efficient by integration and by digitalization. Well, where do we stand today? I think it's already quite well known that water is an important issue for society at all, but also for industry. We see on the one hand side that we have an increasing water demand in the coming years in various sectors, especially also in industrial use, despite all the saving and efficiency measures we already see today. In parallel, we see a decreasing water availability. We see that in various outlooks until 2040, 2050 in the coming decades. What we also see, which goes aligned with this, is an increasing water stress. So that means several water users are competing for the same water resources. So there's a real challenge for all of them to become more water efficient. And when we look at this map, just to give you a slight insight, we see it here in this belt across the globe. And when we look to process industries, these are many regions where we see also process industries being present, either taking Europe around here or taking Asia, China, the region in here, down to India and several other regions. So we see that water efficiency is really crucial for industry, as it is a strategic utility for the process industry. One thing that can help us in making process industry more water efficient is integration. And the pathway of integration is indeed a pathway that industry is already taking, being it integrating solutions on an industrial site itself, within the production itself, but also in the interaction with other producers like here, or in the interaction with non-industrial water users like the municipal water management, and of course a strong look towards the water resources, being it ground or surface water, that are used. That integration has a large potential on efficiency for water savings in industry, are showing several examples that we were able already to elaborate in the past years. And I've brought with me some first figures to give you an idea of what that means. You can see in blue savings regarding to fresh water, in green savings or efficiency increases for wastewater, and in black also related to residues and substances. There's no need to look at the details. The only message I want to give you with this slide is that there is really a severe value that we can gain by an efficient integrated water management, being it on the freshwater side by becoming more independent from freshwater resources, being it on the wastewater side by being able to reuse waters in industrial sites for several uses, or by avoiding the issues of handling waste and residues, and in the optimum case, even creating a business case out of substances that we have in our wastewaters. So integration is the one part of the story. This is the road where we are already on the way, where we've already seen on past ACHEMAs solutions from ACHEMA exhibitors that were offering solutions, components related to an integrated water management. But a new issue that was coming up over the past years is, of course, also related to the integration, and that's digitalization. And digitalization and integration, they go hand in hand. As I already mentioned, of course, we were really focusing on our industrial side as such. Digitalization plays their important role. We have Industry 4.0, the digitalization in industrial production as an issue that is going on, and where, of course, industrial water management has to follow. And when thinking of that, immediately it occurs that we have to ask ourselves, well, we need to interact also in terms of digitalization of industrial water management between water management, production, but also other water users like the municipal sector and our water resources. And this is where we are looking forward to with Industrial Water 4.0, where we really see a value for digitalization. Of course, the first step there is digitizing industrial water management as such. This is something that's comparable to digitizing industrial production, because what we produce is a process water, inequality for processes, or we are producing a clean water that can be reused or released to the environment. What is very important for industry is the horizontal integration with industrial production. There we have industry with its increasing dynamics, flexibility in production, where also industrial water management needs to react on, and where by following these dynamics is also a quite strong basic to reach increases in efficiency in industrial water management. But also in the other relation with the municipal sector and the water resources, there we really can gain benefits by a horizontal integration via digitalization. Well, that's it up to now from my side to give you some first insights, what we can expect already right now and in the coming years to be developed and to be implemented in industrial water management to become more efficient, and where I'm very much looking forward to hear and learn more about at ACHEMA Pulse 2021, but also then in 2022 when it comes to the next ACHEMA, where we will have lots of exhibitors that provide also technical solutions, being it in sensors, monitoring devices, treatment technologies, integrating aspects. So these are all important things I'm very much interested in to see and to discuss with people there to see how we can bring this issue forward. Well, that's it with my statement. Thank you very much, Katrin.
Thank you, Thomas, for this valuable insight. And I think not only myself, but also our viewers have got a lot of food for thought from this and have seen some very impressive figures. Nonetheless, I have a couple of questions. It all sounds really great, but I'm sure there must be some challenges and some hurdles. Where do you see the greatest challenges with regard to digitalization, but also to integration of water management?
Well, Katrin, thank you very much. Indeed, you're asking the right questions on this. One of the biggest issues is that we see with integration. Let me start with integration first. So I think the low-hanging fruits there are already taken. So first reuse issues are taken, and we have to see that we bring integration to a more higher efficiency level. So that means we also need a lot of monitoring, sensoring devices, technical solutions, and also digital solutions that help us to bring integration further forward. The biggest issues there is really the closer cooperation between the water management and the industrial production as such. So I think there we need really good solutions, where I'm very much looking forward to see issues in discussion with ACHEMA exhibitors and visitors in the coming 2 years. The other thing is digitalization as such. There we have the challenge on the one hand side, retrofitting existing plants that can really help us to bring digitalization in the first step in industrial water management as such to the next step. But the second challenge, I already mentioned it a little bit, is the integration between the industrial water management and the industrial production to align, let's say, the increasing flexibility and dynamics of industrial production with the industrial water management. If these two go hand in hand, I see big advantages and a high potential of efficiency increase for industrial water management, but there's quite a way to go, and I'm very much looking forward to see solutions and approaches for that.
Thank you. I think, well, reducing the stress on water resources is a noble goal in itself. I think we all agree. But yet, what are the main benefits for the process industry itself?
Well, Katrin, this is one of the key questions related to the process industry. We see that process industry is strongly depending on water. It's a key issue for industry, and in the way that we reduce the freshwater dependency from industry, we increase the freedom of operate for industries. So we still have in mind, at least in Central Europe and in parts of Southern Europe, the summer of 2018, but also in other areas of the world, we are facing more and more dry periods where it becomes more clear that water is a crucial issue for industry. And their independency from freshwater resources, a higher efficiency in water use in industrial processes and in water reuse is crucial for industry. On the one hand side, by saving freshwater costs and potentially also treatment costs, but even more by ensuring industrial production. By becoming more independent from freshwater resources, industrial water management can bring a strong contribution in contributing to safeguarding the production availability in industry, also in times when there is either by water competition or climately induced a water shortage or water scarcity. So from my perspective, the latter is the most important issue and which brings the highest and fastest value for process industry, contributing to independency from freshwater resources and safeguarding production.
Now, you also outlined a concept that sets on the integration of not only industrial water management, but also involving municipal wastewater and water treatment plants, etc. That requires to bring a lot of different stakeholders to the table. Are there any experiences how this can work?
Yes, you're fully right. We have on the one hand side technical issues, but also non-technical issues. So stakeholders are key to this process. And in fact, we already have some very good examples where and how this could work, especially also in process industry and chemical industry. We have in several coastlines on the North Sea coast, but also in other areas, we have already examples where municipal wastewaters, treated municipal wastewaters, act as a resource for process industry, which are then treated to prepare process waters in various qualities for various uses in chemical industry, and such become more independent from freshwater resources, or for example, for saline water resources, which we most often find in the coastal regions. And these are, of course, the regions, when we look globally, where we have the highest density of process industries, being it in Southern Europe, being it in China. If we look to North America or parts of South America, everywhere there we have process industry very close to coasts, and there we have stress on freshwater resources, and there these interactions, for example, with municipal water users and municipal water supply, wastewater treatment, can be helpful. And there are already experiences, positive experiences from both sides for these combined solutions.
Now, Germany usually is not considered a region that suffers from water scarcity. So is it worth all this effort? Do we really have to do this? Or is it not more something for regions like China or, let's say, the Middle East or so?
Yes, Katrin, this is a question which is very important. And I have to say, yes, we also have to take care about that in Germany. Well, not over the whole country, not all the time, but looking back in the past years, we see more and more situations where we have not necessarily a lack of water in total, but an increasing competition for the available resources. So that means an increasing water stress. And Of course, when we look from the societal point of view, we need water for municipal supply. We need water for food production. And of course, we also need water for industrial production. But in these three columns, the industrial use is the one which is most flexible for finding substitution strategies. And there, of course, the integrated management combined with digitalization that brings forward water reuse, an economically efficient water reuse, but also an ecologically efficient water reuse is the key. And of course, we can bring that still a little bit further forward, but even not to an indefinite end. But also, coming back to your question, for Central Europe and also for Germany, this is an issue, not permanently, but with a trend to increasing periods.
But if, and you have convinced me, of course, if water management is so important and water stress is an issue, why don't we aim to go all the way towards zero liquid discharge, for example?
Well, this is a question that industrial water experts and myself are asked quite often. And on the first hand view, zero liquid discharge. So that means we have an industrial production without creating any liquid discharge at the end. It looks a little bit like the silver bullet. So that's the solution that we have to aim for. But when we take it also under the aspect really of a sustainable water use, sustainable water management, also a sustainable industrial management, then we have to be very careful with this. Because from the technical point of view, of course, we are able today to produce water in every type of quality that is needed. But it depends on the costs, and their energy is a big driver, and of course, also equipment costs. So that means we have to be very careful when going towards water loop closure. This is only possible or should be done only to a way where we see an efficiency in terms of economy. The more water we reuse, the more expensive it is, and also ecology. So that means the more efforts we spend in there, the more energy we need. So that means when we go to zero liquid discharge, this is quite often combined with very high costs, especially in energy consumption. And as long as we are not able to produce only green energy, this means on the other hand side also an increase in CO2 emissions. So the answer to your question is, definitely, we have to move forward with water efficiency as far as possible, but not always is zero liquid discharge the most optimum solution. There are, of course, local and regional situations where zero liquid discharge is an important issue, needs to be taken into account, being it by legal settings or by strategical or geographical settings, but it is not like having zero liquid discharge as the silver bullet that we have to take to solve all the problems there. Water efficiency, yes, but only going towards zero pollution or zero liquid discharge is not the right way.
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for sharing your expertise with us. It was great to get these first impressions on how industrial water management can really contribute not only to more sustainability, but also to more competitiveness and what digitalization can achieve in water management. And I know there are a lot more questions which we haven't covered today, but I promise we will take them with us to ACHEMA Pulse. So join us on 15th and 16th of June next year at ACHEMA Pulse to dig deeper into this topic and many others as well. Learn how providers and users are applying these concepts in practice and get all the answers to your questions. For today, thanks for being with us and join us again for the next ACHEMA Pulse webcast. Goodbye.